In a few days, we're going to go into the festive of Pesach, the Chag of Pesach. And we all know that the theme in Pesach is Cherut. That translating Cherut is a little bit tricky. Independence, freedom, what does it exactly mean? It's a question, but we'll put that aside. The theme is Cherut. It's becoming a man that was enslaved to a man that is free. We say it every Pesach, Hati Haggadah Shel Pesach, we come and say, Hashta Avdei, now we are slaves, Shana Abba Bnei Chorim. Next year we will be independent people. And the question is, I'm not a slave. I don't feel a slave. Am I a slave? To the extent where we even come and say, Tzarich kol adam lirot atzmo kilu yatsa miyetziat Mitzrayim. Everyone has to see himself as if he left Egypt. But I'm not a slave, and I wasn't in Egypt. I was in Sinai once in my life, but that doesn't really mean that I ever left Egypt. What does it mean to really be independent, to really find chirut in your life? I want to give 2 points, I think, that maybe will start our process of becoming Bnei Chorim. The first one is a concept that I actually learned from my mother. Every year since I've been married, we're always thinking about where to do the Seder. And many times we say, oh, we'll do it alone, we'll do it here, we'll do it there. And I remember that one year, we were going to do the Seder at the hotel. And I said to my mother, I don't really want to be at the hotel, it's noisy there, I really can't do it. And then my mother said a sentence to me that is strongly in my head till today. She said, where else will your son get to see the experience of his great-grandfather sitting with him in Leila Seder? Where will he see his great-grandfather, and his father, all 4 generations sitting together and speaking of the same concepts? And I was like, wow, that's amazing. That is the whole idea of the Seder, we all know this, is the tzivui of v'higata lebeincha, tell your son. Is telling the future, telling our future generations what happened so many years ago. And if you stop and think about it, my grandfather, his grandfather and great-grandfather, and even their grandfather, told the same story. And the fact that it's always connected past the future, that the past is telling the story to the future, is what keeps us going. It turns us into eternal beings. It's not only myself, it's not only me telling a story of Shlomo Chayen's life, but it's actually generations and generations telling their story of leaving Egypt. So what are the kids all about? So this is something I learned 2 years ago from my kid, is the naivety of kids revives it in our eyes. Because we told the story 20 times, 30 times, 100 times. We've told the story, they get plagues, they get out of Egypt, they walk to Israel, right? It's a simple story. Why do we have to keep on saying it over and over again? Because when you see the spark in the eye of that kid, for the same grandfather that tells the story for the 100th time to his grandson, or the father that tells it to his son, and the son is all sparks in his eyes, and asking questions and is interested, you're reviving it for the generations that already have passed. That balance between the two is connecting to something that is not only my personal self. It's coming and saying, Pesach is not only me. It's what came before me, it's my grandparents, it's my ancestors, and it's the future to be. We feed each other. The young generation gives the purity of the story, and the older generation are the ones that give the past and the wisdom of the story. The second point of independence that I would want you guys to think about is when you come and say Hashta Avdei, when you come and say now we are slaves, I want every single one at his seder to think. You don't even have to, you can bring it up as a discussion at the table, but think for 2 minutes, what am I a slave of? Am I a slave of time? Am I a slave of society? What am I enslaved in? And you'll notice very quickly that there are certain things that you feel uncomfortable because you're not your real self. Because you're not true to the divinity inside yourself. I'll give you an example that I learned a week ago. When you go away to a hotel, everyone loves hotel breakfast, right? Hotel breakfast is a must. But I know for myself, and maybe you guys also do this, you always take at least 4 plates, right? You need 1 plate for the cheeses, 1 plate for the breads, 1 plate for the desserts, and 1 plate for the waffles and the pancakes. You can't live with hotel breakfast without pancakes, right? And you have 4 plates, your wife has 4 plates, and you're sitting at a tiny table that you can't even put the plates on. And usually what happens is you finish like half a plate. You don't really finish all the 4 plates. Now, I remember the feeling a few weeks ago. I went to a vacation, and I was standing there with a plate in my hand, about to take the second plate, and I'm thinking to myself, no, I'll take 1 plate, I'll fill it up with what I want to eat right now, and if I want more, I'll take more. And suddenly I felt that feeling. I felt that feeling of control. The food wasn't controlling me, but I was controlling the food. And when I finished my plate, I filled it up again, and I finished it. But when I got off the table, there weren't a bunch of plates filled with food, but actually only the things that I really needed and what I wanted to eat. My eyes weren't eating for me, my habits weren't eating for me, it was Shlomo eating his food. So many times in our lives we're living things that are not even real for us. Everyone knows the experience of going out to a vacation, and you need a vacation when you come back from a vacation. Why is that? It's because we're not even experiencing the vacation. We're always worried about time, and where we're going to get to, and what we have to get to do, and we never get to enjoy the fact that we have a vacation. So I want every single one of you to think for 2 minutes. Think about your past and your future, because that will turn you into an eternal person, a person that lives forever as part of history and part of the future. And think, what can I change? What is the small step that I can change this Pesach to make myself an independent person? Chag Sameach.